It's an honor to be here. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Rob. So anyway, what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is classroom management. And although I know this is a topic that we've been talking over and over again for years, I think it's one of the topics that teachers struggle mostly with. So first of all, I'd like you to picture the following scenario. So think about a teacher who arrives in a classroom and about 30 10-year-olds are waiting for her. Not one of them is obviously sitting in their desk. The teacher has planned to cover, let's say, 3 pages of her course book, which was her lesson plan. Students simply ignore the fact that she has entered the class. They're like throwing paper airplanes around, they're talking, walking around, and teasing each other. The teacher seems to be more worried about reaching her desk so that she can open her attendance book and start taking attendance. She finally gets to her desk and starts screaming and shouting and telling everybody to sit down. And after, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes, everybody's sitting down. So I would like to ask you the question, what is she lacking? What is this teacher lacking? Okay, one of the main points, I think, is that she does not understand some critical points of timing. The first moments of any classroom are critical. So students have to be involved as soon as the teacher enters the classroom. And in order to do that, I think time management is very important, obviously. But one thing every teacher must have, which is what everybody's been saying this morning, is passion. Okay, not passion only for life, because that's what drives us, but passion for teaching. Okay, and I believe most teachers do, but some of them as well, they don't have a passion for teaching. And I think that passion is what drives us the extra mile so that we can really get students to be involved in what we are doing. So when we think about classroom management, the first thing I think we think about is targets and goals. So we do always have a goal to reach. And this goal, I believe, has to be a goal, first of all, thought by the whole semester. And that is not like how many pages am I going to cover, which this other teacher thought about. We have to have a goal for the month, for the week, for the day, and as well for the task that we're doing. The thing is that lots of times we have very high expectations as teachers, but we do not tell our students what these expectations are. And then what happens? We get frustrated because we think that the teachers, the students, aren't able to follow our expectations. The problem is that we sometimes don't tell our students what we expect from them. And that also is a classroom management factor. We have to let them know what we expect from them, how we expect them to behave, how long we expect them to be sitting down, which we shouldn't expect 10-year-olds to be sitting down the whole time. So all these factors we have to really think about for the classroom management. And I believe that there's a big misconception between classroom management and classroom planning. People tend to think they're the same thing, but they're absolutely not. Like classroom planning happens before the classroom, when you're sitting down at your school or at your home and you're planning the class. And classroom management happens within the classroom. Okay, it goes beyond classroom planning. If you do not have your classroom management, you're not going to get your classroom plan done at all. So obviously we have to know the language, what we're teaching, or the subject. I'm not only specifically talking about English, teaching English, but we have to plan our steps. We have to follow the course syllabus. If you're working in a school like we do, we have to watch your timing. But it's not only knowing the language. Like my parents speak fluent English. I've never put them in the classroom. Okay, and it's not only following the steps, like following the book or something like that. You have to really understand who are your students, why are they there, what do they like, how do they learn, and what do they do to learn? Are they visual, what a lot of people have been talking about today? And why should they learn what you're teaching? So all that has to be very thoroughly thought about within your class plan. Okay, it's broader than the classroom planning. And that's what I think some teachers don't understand, how important it is to really think through every step of your classroom. what grouping arrangements you're using. Why are you using it? Would it work better in groups, in trios, in small groups? So all these points, I believe, that teachers sometimes forget to think about during their classroom planning. Because the classroom management has a large effect on students' achievement. In fact, I believe that sometimes it is even bigger than the subject itself. And one thing I realize is that we tend to think about like us as teachers. It's about our success. I want to be a good teacher. But we have to think about it's about their success. They have to be good learners. And sometimes what we teach is not what they learn. And we believe, oh, you know, I'm teaching this and I've done so much in my classroom, but they just don't learn. That's because we're not thinking about them. We're thinking about us as teachers. So it is not about us. It's about them. And even lots of teachers say, you know, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. I mean, great, it is a way to get, you know, them controlling, but, you know, eyes on me. So look at me, please. That's what we have to try to change. It's eyes on them. They are the ones who have to really be working and be on task. And we tend to be a little bit self-centered, I believe, as teachers, because that's the way we learn. That's the way we were taught as well. All our teachers sitting down in front of and standing up in front of us and telling us what to do. So classroom management is a lot about students' involvement, students' engagement, students' autonomy, classroom communication. So that's what it's all about. So am I involving my students as from the first moment I enter the class, like that teacher that I talked about? Am I engaging them? Am I motivating them? Do I know what they like to do inside and outside the classroom? How is my classroom communication? How do I communicate with my students? I think that is something that's very important. And, you know, what is this all about? How do I get to this point? And that is what classroom management is all about. Classroom management is the starting point. Okay, as I said, it is much more important sometimes than the subject itself. Sometimes you can be an expert in the subject, but if you don't have your classroom management issues correct, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to manage to control, in this case, you know, 30, 10-year-olds, which is an amazing thing to do. And when you really get to them, you're completely fulfilled. Okay, then you do, when you manage to make it about them, your classroom works. If you make it about you, your classroom will not work. So lack of classroom management is a very big problem nowadays, because I think that is what makes, you know, the main reason for teacher burnout. And I've seen a lot of that recently, teacher burnout, because they enter the classroom and they have no direct, how could I say, they have no limits on their students. And we know that students nowadays are a little bit more difficult. We have a bit more, you know, behavior issues. So we do have to really plan our classroom thinking of them and how do they behave and how will they react to certain things that I say and that we say. And as I wrote here, studies have shown that many students who are failures in their classroom had significant improvement because of the teacher's classroom management. And on the other hand, many studies have also shown that poor classroom management has hindered brilliant students. And so it is up to the teachers to motivate classrooms, to motivate our students. I do believe, yes, it is up to us, teachers, to know our students and understand how they work, because they work differently nowadays. So we do have to be less teacher-centered. We do have to make our students more active learners. Okay, we do have to start using different grouping arrangements in the classroom, like learning centers, which I think is amazing. I use it the whole time. So everybody's working, every group is working on different aspects in the classroom, but with the same objective. And so they're moving around, which is very important for students. We can't expect them to just sit down and listen to us. Discussions in classroom, we have to use a lot. Technology issues, which I'm going to talk a little bit about soon. So all these points are very important in the classroom management. So when we're talking about being a connected teacher and using technology effectively in the classroom, we have to ask ourselves, who's using the technology? If it's the teacher who's using the technology, something's wrong, because the students are the ones who are supposed to be using it, not the teachers. So a teacher-centered, student-centered teacher is that one that uses the book as a guideline, but uses all the input from the students as his teaching topic. That is something that is very important to think about. So if we want to just put it in a nutshell, because I think Rob has appeared, help, draw your class plan out because you know your classroom management and your students came up with something, a greater idea that is more important to them. If you have your classroom management all set up, you'll have no problem in doing that. You'll just chuck your class plan away and you're still able to do it. Okay, Rob?